everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerosity. Let me ask you to kind of reach back in time a little bit. Over 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Remember songs like Old Violin and I'm the Only Hell Mama Ever Raised, or Me and the IRS, or Colorado Kool-Aid. Do those ring a bell? Maybe not. This one will. Take this job and shove it. Oh, I got your attention now. Because how many times have we wanted to say that in our careers, us baby boomers, as we were working our way through life and trying to make a living for our families and all that kind of stuff? There were times, many times, we wanted to sing that song as we were going out the door. Admit it. It's true, huh? Well, that was by Johnny Paycheck. He's been gone for over 20 years now. And his son, John, is now in the country music business. No, he's not trying to leverage off his dad's skills. He's not trying to be Johnny Paycheck Jr. John Paycheck is a country music artist in his own right, writes great music, has recorded great music, and is touring, performing that great music. Yeah, he'll do some of his dad's songs, but this is John Paycheck, not Johnny. And we have him on Boomerosity right now and have a great chat with him for you to listen to. I'd encourage you to listen very closely, watch it. It's great. Buy the 2 albums he has out, this latest one especially, and just get into what he's doing these days because it's fun stuff. And while you're at it, would you hit like? And if you're not already a subscriber, it's free. So just hit subscribe too. It helps us out tremendously. And share this interview with your other friends who happen to like country music. It's great stuff. I love it. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews to come with John Paycheck. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerosity. Take care. Hello, John. Hold on here. Let me get you turned up. I don't know what the deal is here, but
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
there we go.
Hey,
Hey, well, thanks for joining me, John. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. Appreciate you clicking in, and also thank you for your service to the country. It's much appreciated.
no, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm glad to
So,
be here.
where are you clicking in from?
I am just outside Washington, D.C. for the most part,
Oh,
in
wow.
Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now we live just kind of out by Winchester, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
We're out that way. So,
Well, good
yeah,
deal. Good
just
deal.
out here in the country.
Well, I can relate. I'm up in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, so
Okay. Yeah.
that's
Right on.
yeah. So we're in the same time zone at least, right? So.
I think so. I think so, at least.
Well, I told I just a little bit of backdrop here. I live next door to my dad. He's got Alzheimer's, and so I'm taking care of him.
Okay.
He's 88. And just before coming down into my studio here, I said, "Dad, do you remember Johnny Paycheck?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm going to talk to his son today." He goes, "Oh, wow. Tell him I said hi." You know,
Well, that's cool. Well, tell him I said hi.
I'll do that. I'll do that. So, well, man, I love your new album. And I just think it's a breath of fresh air these days to hear real country music from somebody saying who that they're a country music artist. So thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. It's a little different nowadays, it seems.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, but I just, I love the vibe, the sound, all of that kind of stuff. Tell me a little bit about what led up to this album and how long it took you to put it together, things like that.
Sure, sure. Yeah, no, this is the second album that we've put out now. And it's this one, we worked on it for about a year and a half, just getting the songs together and everything. And I kind of have a similar process every time we work on an album. We kind of list out 10 ideas, kind of go with, well, I want a love song, I want a murder ballad, I want this, I want that. And then we just start writing. And it's some of it is like Foolish Ways. That one kind of just came out of nowhere for me, and a little bit personal. And then some other ones are I just to start off with an idea, like the Murder Ballad. That one, that one, that was actually that was when I was a little hesitant about putting it out at first, but I was like, yeah, I mean, people will understand. It's a story, it's not about me. So, but yeah, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, yeah.
People will draw what they want to, no matter what you say, no matter how you tee it up. So
I
just
know,
give it your best, man. So
I know, right? But yeah, no, we worked with Bill McDermott there in Nashville. He's a real good producer. I've used him on the first one as well, and um, all the same, not the same, but most of the same guys from the same session that I use for the session guys on this as well. And um, yeah, it it's got a little more more days behind. Kind of had more of a little bit, I think, a bluegrass feel to it, but not really. Just a little bit of a taste of that. A little bit more faster songs on this one, I think.
hmm
But yeah, we did some Texas swing too because I like that. But yeah,
hmm
and my stuff is never. I don't write an album with all the songs being very similar feel. Everything is kind of up and down and backwards, and every song's different. So yeah,
Well,
there's
I think that keeps a listener engaged. I
yeah,
mean, I grew up listening to a whole bunch of different kinds of music, but as much as I loved Barry Manilow music, so much of it was the same, and everybody
yeah,
kind of said that. So
yep.
I like the variations, whether it's country or rock or blues. I like a variety, so it keeps me interested and keeps me hooked.
That's what I thought. See, and that exactly. That's kind of how I thought about it too. Because I was like,
hmm
if I do the same thing over and over again, I mean, well, you've listened to the first song, then you listen to the whole album. Well, then why bother? So
That's
yeah,
right.
no, definitely. And it was the same way with the first one too. We had a bunch of different ideas and things like that.
hmm
And had a blues song on the first one as well. And pretty much the only blues song I've written so far. But yeah, yeah, that's yeah, good times exactly.
How long did it take you to make this album?
For writing, like I said, probably about a year maybe, and then the album itself and getting everything done about a half a year, so about a year and a half altogether. Um,
hmm
uh, we come up with the ideas generally within a month, but then it's
hmm
kind of we write for a while. We'll sit down and have some sessions. My year kind of is set out, very military. I have my whole plan, right? Uh, but my year is kind of set out where we tour about 6 months to 7 months of the year, and then the rest of the time is dedicated towards business, really booking and everything else. But we set aside 3 months right there to write music, and
hmm
yeah, that's usually where all the ideas come from. And we don't always we don't always action on all of them. I mean, some of them we set aside for later, and we'll see what we decide to do with it later, and maybe they'll get lost and we'll never do anything with it. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. We get the ideas put in place in about 3 months of
hmm
writing time. So yeah,
Well, you worked with your dad on the road and all that, and then you left the business and you went into the military. Again, thank you for your service to our
no,
country on
thank you.
that. And then pursued your own career and such, and now in the last handful of years got back into the business. How has it's kind of a three-part question, or a question that requires three answers actually. How
Yeah,
much of your being on the road with your dad versus being in the military versus having another career, and you farm too. I forgot to mention that.
yeah,
So there's four potential influences there
uh huh.
that could have impacted or influenced your music. Did any of them do that? And if so, how so?
Well, we'll start with dad. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I grew up around a lot of those older artists that I like, and you know, dad taught me how to play guitar. He would review my writing sometimes because I'd practice kind of writing and stuff then too, and just fooling around with it at that time. But
hmm
and then of course we're learning the business side of things too. He helped with a lot because I worked with him on the road, and I was his road manager for a short amount of time. And yeah, so a lot of influence, obviously, from that. Um,
Right.
and then when we get on to my life and things that I've done, yeah, I was a firefighter for about 5 years. Did that. Was a computer engineer starting out when I left dad, and then I went on to the military right after 9/11 and everything. And that, of course, has a large impact on who I am and the way I see things. Um, so yeah, and just the normal life stuff too. It just, I got divorced once, and I've,
Mm.
got kids, and I've, there's all kinds of, found love again. I got a great wife now. And
Hmm.
just, I mean, all those things, affect who you are. And if you have any kind of creative part of your mind that you use a lot of, it's impossible for those things not to affect, you know, how I see things and what
Sure.
I think
Sure.
of to even write about, right? So the farming piece, I don't know if that helps with any of it or not, but maybe. I know there's a lot of work involved, and
Yeah.
and we deal with lavender, so it's a small crop, small cash crop. So I mean, it's
Hmm.
not. Uh, I'm by no means a large agri farmer or nothing like that. I just, yeah, we have a nice farm here that we work with, and when we decide to move here, probably towards that the kids go to college, I don't know. We'll probably start up another one wherever we end up. But yeah, lavender is a good crop. I will admit,
Yeah.
we do well with it because people like it, and businesses use it for all kinds of stuff. I mean, scenting, and even they use it in tea and coffee, and
Yep.
I mean, it's in culinary arts and everything. So I mean, anyway, I won't go off on that tangent, but yeah, we I guess you could say maybe a little bit because I am in tune and in touch with the farm business, the industry within America, and I know other farmers that do have big farms and are dealing in corn or wheat or dealing with the cattle and things like that, ranches. So I know a lot of those type of people too. And heck, on the first album we had one of my songs that it's three different stories in one song, and the first song is about the first story in the song is about a woman who has two kids and she's on her own and dealing with that. And then the next part of it, it's about a family farm that's collapsing and they're trying to keep it going.
Mm.
And then the last part is about a veteran who is considering suicide. So I mean,
Mm.
it's all these stories, but they all find hope, right? And
Right.
those all are things that I drew on from my own personal experience. So I mean, yeah, there's I guess a little bit of the agricultural pulls in there too. But yeah, no, they've all affected who I am and what I write about.
I just had a brainstorm, and if it
Yeah,
makes you millions, you can send me some lavender scented something, but a scratch and sniff CD cover that smells like lavender.
this is an idea. I'll tell you what I did do. I did for some on the first album.
Hmm.
I mean, on this album, on the first there was the first 20 of them. I did include some lavender with the
Ah,
when the CDs sent out. So
very cool. Very cool.
marketing at
So
its best. Marketing
there
at its
you go. Cross pollination there. That's brilliant. So
Well, and well, real quick on that, on the road, this is just a thing. I think I'm one of the few people who ever has decided to kind of do a little bit of a farmer's market on the road when we travel, because we sell merch, right?
mhm.
So this year we're taking some of the lavender products with us as well, and I really would like to set it up to look like a farmer's market booth or something
Oh, that'd be
at the
cool.
shows. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we're actually selling actual farm product from our farm on the road. So I'm like, man, I can't think of anything more country than that.
No, for sure.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Hey, if the other merch doesn't move for you, at least maybe the lavender will, right?
that's what I'm
So
talking about, right? Yeah.
so in making this album, I mean, obviously, I mean, I don't know if you worked in the studio with your dad in the past, but with these two albums and any other albums you may have indirectly been involved with, were there any surprises in putting this album as compared together as compared to anything else you've worked on musically?
Well, I'm always, I mean, no real major surprises, but one thing that always it fascinates me is, and it was on this way on the first one that I did as well. You know, when I was
Hmm.
a kid, I'd be in the studio with dad, and it was always boring because you're sitting there and you're waiting and waiting, and they're doing this, and he's singing, and it's like, oh, this is so boring. And I'd be roaming around the studio getting into stuff I shouldn't be in. And you know, but now, and I've been in the studio with friends, just to hang out and see how they're doing and all that kind of fun stuff. But when it's your own project, it's your own music and your own ideas that you're throwing out there. One, there's some vulnerability to it, right? But the other musicians understand this, right? And they're
Hmm.
very gentle with you, uh, as the studio guys, right? So you go in, you discuss like the first song. This is the idea, the concept. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I feel. This is how the melody sounds from what I hear. And
Hmm.
then you really just sit kind of in a circle, and everybody chimes in on, well, I could do this and I can do that. I kind of like this idea. And the creative process that takes place in the studio with the session guys, and it's quick. It's very
Yeah.
quick how fast it is. I'm always amazed at there's a whole different level of musician that is a studio session person than there is on the road, right? They're different types of musicians.
Yeah.
Um, and those guys and gals that work in the studio are completely fascinating to me. How quick they come up with the ideas and how quick they are able to come up with good things, good ideas,
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
just trash. I mean, they're coming up with good stuff. Um, so that it was a little surprising again to kind of see how that goes down, and then a lot of a lot of guilt that goes down with it because you just always feel bad. They're like, man, it's like you guys are just so underappreciated. People don't understand how amazing, you know, not in just Nashville, but LA, New York, everywhere, in
Hmm.
Muscle Shoals,
Hmm.
everywhere these session musicians are. But anyway, I won't harp on that as much. But yeah, it's that was one thing that kind of took me off guard again. Let's see. As far as anything that kind of, there's usually frustration, and that usually happens between me and my producer. But because I have an idea, and then he might have an idea, and sometimes those don't agree. But
Right.
I usually win. So
You're
that's not
putting
true.
the
I say that here. Bill wins. Bill usually wins. So
Yeah, well, you gotta listen to experience sometimes, that's for
exactly,
sure.
exactly.
So, which album, I mean, I'm sorry, which song on this album would you point to as saying being the calling card, so to speak? Not necessarily your favorite song, but a calling card that for people who maybe were fans of your dad or, you know, just maybe not, but just being introduced to you through this podcast and others. Which song would you point to as the calling card and saying, "Hey, if you like this song, you're really going to love the rest of the album"?
Honestly, I feel like it's more days behind. It'd be a toss up between that one or Drinking and Crying. Both of
Hmm.
those songs have the feel of the album, but if you like that, you're gonna enjoy probably the rest of the album. More Days Behind is obviously it's pretty much there in the title. I mean, that's about me hitting this point in my life and kind of going, oh, well, we've used up half of it. Now what? You know what I mean? It's like that's interesting to think of. You're just at an interesting point in life, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to start appreciating what I have left, and then what am I going to do with it? And then Drinking and Crying is really just it is it is what it is too. As far as the title, it's a song about a guy who is kind of running away, getting away from a bad relationship. Um, but yeah, More Days Behind is a little more interesting, I think. And then I Foolish Ways, I wouldn't say is a calling card for it, but Foolish Ways is one of my favorite songs on the album. And
Mhm.
the reason that when I like that one is it's a very deep song, and it's about talking about how either a person with depression or maybe someone who has an addiction, how they can be so far down in that hole, they don't want your help and they don't want to be helped and they'd rather just keep spiraling. Not really what they want, but it's kind of what they think they want at the time. Um, that's what that song's about. And yeah, I really liked the writing that I did on that, and I think it turned out pretty good. So yeah,
Cool. Now the album's been out since when? November?
yes,
Yeah.
yep,
So
been out since November.
what's been the reception to it so far?
Well, been good. I mean, people seem to like it. Our numbers are doing good on Spotify, and we I haven't pitched this one to radio very much this time. I pitched the first one a lot to radio. This one I've kind of just stayed away from radio as much and focusing on all of our streaming numbers
Mm-hmm.
because that seems to be what everybody cares about in the business. So it's like, all right, well, we'll get our streaming numbers up, and yeah, we've done really good with it. It's been really popular in Mexico, which is interesting. Yeah,
Really?
I've had a lot of and then a lot of pull from the last album once they found this one. Mexico's a lot of people in Mexico City especially have really liked the first album, and I'm kind of surprised by that too. So yeah, there's that, and then some pull over in Europe and of course Canada. Always got some good friends in Canada that seem to be listening, and yeah, but doing good. Texas is always a big friend of ours, so yeah, we tour a lot in Texas too. So
I'm intrigued by this Mexican pull through though. What
yeah,
any feedback as to what to attribute? What
I don't
you
know
know?
yet. I wish I did. I know, especially on YouTube, because you can listen to music on YouTube as well, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of my numbers went through the roof with Mexico being the highest pull for a long time there, and it still is. I'm still getting consistent numbers on Spotify, YouTube, and everything for Mexico. I don't know. I wish I knew why. I'd do more of it.
For sure.
But yeah.
You've got such a, I mean, again, like I said at the beginning of the call, I grew up on all sorts of kind of music. From, of course, I cut my teeth on Elvis, and his was the first concert I went to. But, Elvis was rock, but he was also country. So that opened me up to a lot of country. Mom and dad listened to a lot of country. And so, I have this affinity towards some of the stuff I grew up with, especially as I became a teenager. And your dad was hitting it big during that time and all that as well. So, I'm 65 years old, just to give you a kind of a benchmark on that. But I just, you know, I don't, I'm all open for all sorts of kinds of music, obviously. But I wish people would just leave well enough alone with trying to redefine a genre, and like I said in the beginning, I love how refreshing it is that you are bringing back, or adding to that wealth of true, what I would call true country music, and but yet it's new, it's fresh, that you're bringing. And and I I think it's safe to assume that for you and your peers, like there's probably no plans on doing a duet with Beyonce or anybody, or Shambuzi or anybody like that, right? Okay, good.
No,
I just
yeah,
want to make sure
we're
I'm
not
right.
real interested in that.
So, I mean, so with that, kind of use that as a backdoor way to get your thoughts, because you've seen the changes. You were involved in it back when it was really true country, and you're trying to keep that alive today. What What do you feel is the state of country music today?
Well, I've always kind of felt that country music, the industry itself, has always had a an identity crisis, right? It's one of the few genres that it seems does that a lot. And this has been the entire history of country music. When you had ACM that came in and they decided, this is during the 60s, to start adding that rockabilly feel because it needed to become more poppy. And it's all really always bases around record sales, sales, money. What is hitting hard now so that I can alter what I'm doing to make it more popular with a younger generation. Um, but even though a corporation will decide to do that, or a business, right, will decide to do that, man, we just if you leave well enough alone, you will still draw fans. You will still
Hmm.
draw money. People will still purchase the music if you play what's true, and that's kind of what the roots of country music have always been based in being truthful, being honest, being having that those ethics, being whatever, all of that, family and things like that, values, right? Um, when we start to steer away from that, you do start to turn into another genre. You don't really, you know, pull on those values as much anymore, and it
Hmm.
it changes the product, right? And you end up pulling all these other fans into this that may not really enjoy country music. They really just enjoy either pop or rock or rap or whatever. Um, it doesn't make it wrong. I mean, those other genre mixing that happens, it's just it definitely should be. I always thought, hey, so and so is a good singer, but call it what it is. It's pop music. Let them hit the pop market, because you hurt country music artists who are still trying to do traditional, whatever traditional is, traditional country music, and it's unfair. Like, well, Beyonce, for instance, got it. She is a great vocalist. She's a great entertainer, but she is not a country artist. She just isn't. And to go across genres to try to dominate another market just to say you did or you can, it's like, okay, well, that's great, but how many country artists that are putting their life's work into this, you know, missed out on a Grammy because of so on and so forth. I don't want to get too much into
I
the
understand.
political pieces of
Right,
it all, but at the
right,
same
right.
time, there is some wrong and right to that. And as far as awards, that doesn't matter, because a lot of that's some business topics
Political.
that we
That
could go
yeah,
off on
that's
in a whole
business
other way.
politics. That's
But
right.
yeah, I think that country music, you know, I brought up the values and all that, but I mean, yeah, we got songs about murdering, we got songs about drinking, and there's outlaw guys will write songs about doing coke and all that kind of stuff, right? So I mean, yeah, we're not innocent, but at the same time, most of the songs pull from a point of wisdom and truth of where you've been and what you've done. And
Hmm.
that's honestly, I think, where, and the traditional sounds, the traditional instruments, we
Hmm.
do a whole, man, we go out for at least a month or two out of the year, and I just take a small acoustic quartet. I don't take the
Ah,
steel. I
fun.
don't take I don't take the steel. I don't take electric guitar, nothing like that. And it's not unplugged, but it might as well be. And we use
Right.
mandolin, and we use fiddle and everything else. And it's to one, get into venues that are smaller, that can't afford the whole band and everything. But it's also meant to push back the needle in time a little bit and do it the way that my dad did in the very beginning, and then his predecessors did, right? It's kind of doing that, and playing those older
Hmm.
songs too, as well as more acoustic versions of mine, right? So
Hmm.
there's I don't know, how are you going to do that with you know Aerosmith? I know that's an old band. That's an old band now. I got it.
Yeah,
But how are you
they're
going to do
not
that
even
with,
a band now.
or
So
whatever it is? But you know what I mean. How are
yeah.
you going to do that with some of those type of bands? How are you going to do that with you know any rapper, R&B art? Well, R&B you could, but rap artists you can't really.
Hmm.
There's fundamentals that they can go back to as well, but it's not the same, man. And our history, our country's history, has roots in folk and country music, as well
Hmm.
as European traditionals and things like that. And if you want to go even, I mean, there's a whole giant history to country music that
Yep.
is very unappreciated. And yes, I am definitely trying to maintain that traditional sound. So I will
Well,
rant
I
forever. You've got me on a topic I will rant forever about. So we'll
yeah.
probably I'll stop.
Okay. Well, I mean, all you got to do is get people to watch the Kim Burns special, right?
Mm.
All disc of that. I mean, if you come off of watching every episode of that and don't have an appreciation for the history of country music, then you weren't watching it. That's
And I will argue that even the Ken Burns special is only, I mean, it really is an iceberg because there's
mhm.
so much more. There's so much more.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Well, curious, do you know what the demographic is of your crowds, as well as what the demographic is of those who are buying your music? Are they different? Are they the same? What are they made up of?
It's different. It's a little different for who buys it compared to who comes to shows or streams. You get kind of a mix of it in the shows, but streaming obviously is more middle aged to younger, and then you get kind of a mix of 55 and above that purchase really they purchase more than the younger demographic. But yeah. As far as the majority, like what I get, it's kind of across the board right now. It used to be mainly middle age and up, and I don't know if it's because of the topics I sing about, or if it's because of the interest in who my dad was at first,
Right.
or what. But now it is starting. There's a younger generation of people that are very interested in my music, and I'm kind of contributing some of that to TikTok
Hmm.
and using TikTok quite a bit, but and posting on there. But also just when we're out and touring, we get a lot of different age groups. So yeah,
Hmm.
I had a
How
kid
about, oh,
in
go ahead.
real quick story. I had
Yeah,
a
no,
kid
take
in
your
Austin.
time.
Yeah, no, we were in Austin, playing up, or not Austin. We were up in Amarillo. We're up in Amarillo and playing at a show at a place. And this we had finished the set and everything, and now we're eating our meal. And this kid, he had been sitting next to us, and he didn't say anything, and he was kind of just watching us. And I walked by him, and he kind of gave me like a hey, and I kind of zoned out, didn't think about it. I was like, oh hey, walked on and talked to the manager for a minute, and then we started packing up, and we were heading out. And he follows us out, and of course, me, I'm like, is this what's this cat doing following us out? You know, and me and Toby, my fiddle player, turn around. We're like, hey, what we can do for you? And he introduces himself, and he's kind of soft spoken kid, real nice, very polite. And it went to college. It was going to college there in Amarillo, and he had wanted to come out and see us so bad, and he showed up at the end of our set, and he didn't even get to see us
Oh,
play. And I felt so bad, that he didn't get to see it. We gave him a CD and took a picture with him and stuff, and hung out and talked with him for a while. And but things like that surprised me that because he's a young kid, just started college. So I mean,
wow.
those are that's people who are listening to music and really like it. And yeah, unfortunately, he showed up late. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
It
anyway,
sounds
I'm
like
sorry.
something I would have done. That's all right.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope you can get more data. I mean, I'm really intrigued with this Mexican audience thing because I think that's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Me too.
And they have a hunger. I mean, the I guess those of us on this side of the border stereotype too much and think they're only into mariachi music, or Selena or something. But they have some great rock bands down there. I interviewed
Yeah,
a guy from a rock band from down there called Elon, and they were amazing. And with the country music and all that, I hope you can get a lot of good data on where in the country, because that means a lot too. There's a
yep,
socioeconomic thing going on there that's not unlike India, almost like
yep.
a caste system there. So I'd love to hear what you learn about the age, the caste system, the whole demographic thing. And I just think that would be so fun to hear about
Yeah,
and
yeah, sure. Yeah,
see how you leverage that, that'd be
yeah. No,
cool.
I have seen that. It seems like they in the Mexican population that's pulling my music. They like the traditional country sound,
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's not a ton of traditional sounding country artists that I see in Mexico. I see a lot of, Tejano and things like that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's either Tejano or it is real poppy country.
Yeah.
And then that traditional sound is kind of missing a little bit. And for whatever reason. But then again, it's kind of here too that way too, unless you start searching for independent artists. So I don't know,
Correct.
maybe I'm helping fill that void for now until they grow some of their own.
Well, you got to be very specific what grow your own means in
Well,
this context.
fair enough. Yeah.
So I'm aging myself there, I think. So
No.
are you are you I mean, I read and I think the one sheet that I got from your publicist that you have had some support from other um kids, so to speak,
Yeah.
of your dad's peers. How, I think that's a very interesting niche there that I would love to see grow. I mean, of course, there's you, there's Roseanne Cast, there's all these people.
Hmm.
And what are you sensing from you and your peers as to what you guys are going to continue to do in country music to kind of keep whether it's keeping your parents' spirit alive and the awareness alive, or what are you guys talking about? What are you hearing in that regards?
Well, we're kind of, so we're coming to, I think, a different point in time, especially with a lot of us, because our parents, like let's take for instance, like me and Shooter Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our parents have been gone for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our parents passed when we were fairly young men.
Yep.
So it's been a while. Shooter's done a lot to keep his dad's legacy going. I've pulled away and went to the military and did other things, and then now I'm coming back and learning, especially that it doesn't really do it on its own. You've got to kind of fuel it and keep it going. So I was like, all right, well, we'll do that. Mom didn't want to do much of that, so she kind of wanted to stay away from it all after dad passed, and she didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to have anything to do with the business. So respected her wishes. Mom passed away a year now, and yeah, so now I'm kind of taking it on my own, and we're gonna go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
try to keep his memory alive and do some things here with it. Um, so there is that, right? There's an age gap, right? And most of us are hitting that middle age period now. A lot of us are, and we're doing other things, as far as on our own, things that we want to do, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't know. Wait, like Shooter, I'm sure will keep doing what he's doing. They got the Cash family,
Yeah.
and John, he does a lot of really good stuff. He does a lot of really good things with preservation, I think. And I don't know him real well, but yeah, from what I hear. Um, who else we got out there? Well, and you got Tyler Coe, and Tyler, Dave Allen Coe's son. He is he is an amazing historian. Kid, or shouldn't, he's not a kid. The guy, he's younger than me, so everybody's a kid, right? Um, so he is amazing at doing research on country music, knowing things, calling facts, and he digs into a lot of information and tries to get the truth out of 10 different sources, what makes the most sense, right? And he writes, and he works with the Hall of Fame Museum and stuff. He's doing a lot to keep the memories alive and preserve the history and get the stories out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, there's a lot of things like that going on. Me personally, with Dad, I'm trying to get the folklore out of the way because there's a lot of folklore, right? There's all these
Mm-hmm.
crazy stories about Dad, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them are true, some of them
Mm-hmm.
aren't. And one thing we're realizing now with when we get into some of the research is things like court records. Some counties keep all of it, some counties don't.
Oh
So
wow.
we end up falling, you know, on some blank areas, and but I've decided to bring in people who are specialists in those type of cases and be like, okay, well, let's see what they say, and we'll put it in an article, and we'll put that article out. There's some
Mhm.
things in the past that I want to make sure are dispelled and people understand what the truth is, um, because it's just too many rumors. So we're
Yep.
working on that, trying to let people know who the real who real Johnny Paycheck was.
Mhm.
Um, Also, letting people understand more about the family side of him, which he didn't really talk as much about, and there were reasons why he didn't talk about that, and a lot of it had to do with trying to keep us safe and trying to keep us out of the
Mhm.
limelight, things like that, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, music wise, there's not a ton in the vault. Most everything that was ever released has been released, but I came across some things recently, and we're looking at releasing those. I'm trying to get them
Oh,
in a
cool.
good state because the tape wasn't good.
Mm.
So we're trying to digitally get it in a good place to where it's like, okay, it sounds good enough to release. Um, I've thought about doing a song, maybe one or two, where me and Dad sing together on a track or
Oh,
something.
that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've wanted to do that a lot. That means something. It means something to me at least. And
Yeah.
I think people would enjoy it. So we're looking at doing that. And then just singing his songs to keep the memory alive. We're looking at working with the Opry, hopefully on another doing another um, night in tribute to Dad. So yeah, things like that. That's what I'm doing. Oh, and then we're discussing with the Country Music Hall of Fame, the museum, about doing exhibits, things like that.
Oh, that'd be cool. I
Yeah.
I know that when you were saying all this, I was reminded of Jim Croce's son, AJ. He's done an amazing job of while building his own
Hmm.
career and his own body of work. It's hard to not honor his dad at the same time. I saw him in concert, and it was amazing what he did. It was called Croce Does Croce or Croce Sings Croce, something like that. And
Hmm.
amazing, amazing deal. I know copyright and whoever owns the publishing and all that kind of stuff gets to be problematic at times. So I
Yeah.
know you can't do just whatever you want on that. So if you can't do salvage the tape, maybe you just record it as you saying this is stuff my dad did,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
Things like that.
but yeah. So
Yeah.
well,
There's a lot of the kids, the legacy kids, that will do tribute shows, and I've just never been a big fan of that, because I've always wanted to make sure that people don't think I am riding Dad's coattails in any way, shape, or form. That's why I
right.
went in the military. It's why I went in the fire department, things like that. My name didn't help me in those places at all. So you don't get a promotion just because you're Johnny Paycheck's kid. Um, so and I lived that part of my life, and it's like, okay, now coming into this, it's like if anybody can even think that, they're crazy, because
Right.
uh, most everybody that my dad knew is gone and out of the business now, which is probably a good thing too. Um, not everybody, not everybody. Some of them are real good people. That's a joke, but some of them maybe. Um, so anyway, they're all gone. So I mean, it's not like anybody's you know giving me a hand up because of Dad. I will
Right.
say, um, I wouldn't. Well, heck, I probably wouldn't even be talking to you, if it wasn't for who my dad was, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
there are certain things that it helps with a little bit, but I still got. It's like my dad always told me to. He's like, if I ever decided to go down this path, he's like, my name will help you get in the door, maybe. He's like, but you got to stay in the room. It's up to
Yep.
you, because that's how
Can't
the
get
business.
run out.
Yeah, if I can't sing and I get up on stage, I'm just going to make a joke out of myself, and
Yep.
you're not going to get hired back.
That's
So,
right.
so the whole point there is, you know, uh, you do have some of these kids that come in, they become tribute artists, and I never really found much enjoyment in that. So if you come to like one of my shows, I do some of Dad's songs. I'm really kind of following like Ned Ledoux's model, uh,
Hmm.
where he does some of his dad's songs, and then he does some of his songs, and it's kind of how the show alternates as it goes about, and the fans get a little bit of both, and they usually walk away pretty happy. being able to hear Chris's songs and being able to hear Ned's. So, and if
Right.
you didn't know Ned's stuff, you'll know it then, and you'll be like, oh, well, I kind of like his stuff too. And
Yep.
that's kind of how we do it. So yeah,
Well, that's cool. I think that's I don't see anything wrong. I mean, I think we would do it for our kids if we were
sure,
going to if we were in a position of influence, we certainly would. I mean, we'd want them to have the work ethic and the
yep,
talent, but there's nothing wrong with it. I think there's a lot to that. But like you said, there are artists who have tried to, follow in their parents' footsteps, and I would think maybe they should take up, car mechanics or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, it's true, it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and then
you've got it though, man. That's
thank you.
I think that I listen to all kinds of music, and like I said, and you're the real deal there. So I think it's a testament to not only largely your own talent, but hey, yeah, your dad taught you some stuff, and
Oh yeah,
there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that.
oh
So,
yeah, 100%.
yeah.
And you hear it.
So,
You hear a little bit of dad in me when I sing, but not a ton. And part of it is I'm influenced by that '90s era. I really am. And George Strait. I love George Strait. Right. So the way he sings, it's very not to it's not a pun, but it's a straight way of singing.
mhm,
The phrasing is very minimal, light. Dad's era, the phrasing was very heavy, and it was unique. More steel guitar sounding the way they sang. Well, Dad
mhm,
especially, at least, right? And uh, with that '90s era of singing, it's more along with the melody, but not quite like a steel guitar playing
mhm,
swoops and things like
mhm.
that. So, yeah, it's you'll hear a little bit. It's funny because like sometimes guys in the band they'll give me a look after when I start a phrase or something, and one of them will mouth over to me, "Paycheck," and I'm just like, okay. They're like, you sound just like your dad. I'm like, no, I don't hear it, but I guess they do. So
It's hard to believe he's been gone over 20 years.
yeah,
When I was doing the research for this chat, I obviously looked him up, and I thought, holy cow, I thought it had been more recent than that, like in the
yeah.
last 5 years or something. But hard to believe it's been over 20 years. So, what's on your agenda for the rest of this year?
Well, April we'll start with our first show out in Indiana, Columbus, Indiana, and then it'll be just all the way up until November, touring across Texas, and we're going to be in Arkansas, and I think we're going to actually go to Hernando's Hideaway as well this year in Memphis, and Southgate House up in towards Cincinnati. I think there's a festival we're playing up there too at some point in the year. Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff. We're all kind of all over. I think as far as we're going to New Mexico for a big music festival too.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, we're gonna go out there in Grays, New Mexico. That'll be in May. I can't remember when, but May. Yeah, Mom Band's in town. That's where all my stuff is. But yeah, yeah. So a lot of touring. We're releasing the 4 videos this year. We're
Hmm.
gonna have Honky Tonk Blackout is one of the videos. Drinking and Crying, More Days Behind, and Foolish Ways. So those are all my 4 videos we're gonna do this year. No new music other than trying to get. I'm hoping it comes out this year. The thing for Dad, but
Hmm.
we'll see on that. We're still trying to, like I said, restore it. So, but
Hmm.
other than that, that's what we're working hard on. Playing music for people and getting the videos out.
Well, cool. When you get any new music, whether it's your own or your dad's thing, I mean, reach out to me. I'd love to chat
Sure.
with you, and my door is open to you, man, because it's great to talk to you, and you're intelligent to talk to, and that's not always a given in this business, but
There's all
yeah,
levels and types.
that's right. That's right. So, and I'm sure you see it on this side of the mic too. So, I
No,
mean,
no, 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 it's no.
but Well, John, it's been great to talk to you. I love your music and I look forward to hearing a lot more from you and talking to you again down the road. Okay.
Definitely. Thank you, man. Thank you for
All
your time today.
all right. Likewise. And stay safe and stay healthy.
We're gonna try to stay warm too, because I'm hoping it'll warm
Oh,
up here soon. That dang groundhog.
yeah.
I'm telling you. Anyway, see ya.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.